Before we move on to like the general discussion of AI and the future for that, I'm really curious. Like your LinkedIn profile, it is like an animated version of yourself, and it's
Hmm.
pretty accurate. So do you use like Midjourney? What was the software you used for that?
This is a good question. The app that I use is called Lensa.
Lensa. Okay.
Lensa. Yes.
It's really cool. I guess for our audio listeners, currently he has a very accurate image. It's like animatedly generated on his LinkedIn profile. It's really cool. But yeah, what's your thoughts in terms of the development? Like, where do you see this future in terms of disruption in different industries? Where are you seeing more of it? Or what's your thoughts just in general, whatever you want to share?
See, I'd say a couple of things. One, I tend to have a bit of a P&L view. So this is again something I was taught by one of my mentors at BlackBerry. He happened to be from Pakistan as well. Great guy. I owe a lot to him. He would always tell me, when you look at things, look at it from a P&L standpoint. I was young at that time, never made sense. But growing up, it starts connecting. So one of the things I tell people is that as you look at things from a P&L standpoint, I'll give you an example. I'm going to look at things from a perspective of revenues, from a perspective standpoint of cost, and then obviously what their bottom line looks like. And now that you have AI technology, because AI, artificial intelligence, all it's really doing is it's basically finding ways to do things in an easier way. And I'd say we need that in any given situation. But what that's also translating into is a lot of time savings and huge cost savings. And
Right.
obviously, that is something I would say it's the need of the hour. If you look at the economic conditions, every organization is looking at that.
Yeah.
So now, when you give this P&L view, start thinking where and how you could incorporate the technology and impact their top line, their bottom line, what sort of things could apply. And I think that could be an area of focus for people as they start looking at things, because you could be a marketer and you could use this technology very effectively. You could be an accountant, same thing. You could be in
Yeah.
any space and you
Right.
could benefit. The other thing I'd say is there's going to be a lot of bad that's going to come out of this as well. And I,
Yeah.
I
Makes
say
sense.
that.
Yeah.
Why? Because as always, I'll give an example. We brought in smartphones, they connected the world. You have everything at your fingertips, but then note how everybody's on their smartphones now.
Yeah.
I think you've really impacted the social fabric, the structures we used to have within families and friends, and how people
Yeah.
communicated. I often find that people are much better communicating on a WhatsApp group than they are in person. It's, again, I'm not sure how to put it, but it's really the challenge of our times. So there's that, I would say, the two sides. There's a good side and there's obviously a bad side. So the same thing would apply with AI. There's going to be a bad side, and I think we need a lot of people to come and kind of police that for us,
Yeah.
ethical people who find ways to work in that space. And I think that will be a growing space in the upcoming time. And then what I'd also say lastly is that there's going to be a lot of good. But what's changed is when I was in high school here, Azam, we had a class called careers back in grade 10. I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Yeah.
took that as well,
Yeah.
right?
That's yeah. Yeah.
And what they taught us then was that our parents, they spent all their lives doing one career, and
Yeah.
that worked out for them. In your time, you're going to do 3 to 5 careers.
Yeah.
And oh boy, they were so right how things
Right.
have changed. So I would say the same applies to all of us now, even more. I used to previously always ask people, any organization you join, what C-level role do you want to be? And that's how your decisions should be based on a day-to-day basis. Because if I want to be a CMO, then obviously I want to do things within the marketing function or with
Right.
that sort of an orientation.
Mhm.
Versus if I want to be a CFO, what has changed now is I still tell people to do the same, but the difference is start having I would say, a vision of about a year to a maximum 3 years. And why I say
Interesting.
that is because 3 years is hard to predict in today's time and age with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
way things
Makes
are
sense.
going. But the next 12 months, yes, you could land in the right spot, the right space. As you do your research, this is for everybody listening, as you do your research, as you try and pick on what that next big thing would be, where can I see myself being utilized the most? Try and pick something with that 12 to 16-month timeline. And frankly speaking, I think in the future, what you're going to see is everybody is going to be a problem solver,
Right.
right? That is really where we're headed to. I would say if we start having that kind of a mindset, that kind of a mentality, it will truly have an impact.
Yeah, I think so. Like the just building on the problem solving, like obviously we didn't develop when we grew up with ChatGPT, but the students now are using it significantly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that generation gets into the workforce because they'll be like, okay, there has to be a faster way, and they're probably
Yeah.
going to include more efficiencies in their jobs.
Yeah.
So it's
See,
definitely different.
if I can put it this way, I'll say I'm all for the faster way. What I'm not all for is the way, unfortunately, things then end up becoming used. And I'll give an example of that. So I used to be a part of a team that would manage Bring Your Kids to Work Day. This is something that happens in November, happens in
Yep.
Canada annually.
Hmm.
I don't know if you went
Yep.
with your
Yep.
dad to work, but again, growing up, fond memories.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I had a first set of kids, and just imagine how quickly they changed. My
Yep.
first set of kids comes in, great kids, interacted well with us, had a phenomenal time. So it was an experience. I loved it, they loved it, and it was a good place to be in. The following year, just imagine in 12 months, okay, the following year, these kids come in, okay, and one of them actually had an iPod. So back then we didn't have iPhones, but
Yep.
we did have iPhones, but kids had iPods, not like today. And obviously these are grade 9 kids. So one of them had an iPod. The rest of them were pretty engaged. This one guy was pretty busy with his iPod. I found it a
Yep.
bit strange, but whatever. The following year, I still remember this. We had a group of kids come in, probably our largest cohort.
Yep.
and everybody's running around. And I remember I used to set up the program with our teams, with the different leaders. The plan was bring them in, different leaders go and talk to them. We give them a bit of a walk at the factory and all the other things. We have a good day with them. So it's an exciting place to be in for these kids, hopefully one that's inspiring as well. Funny enough, it's like 11 a.m. All the leaders have gone in and spoken to them, and they are frowning, they're running around, they just can't connect with the group. So they call me in. Our leader at the time calls me in, and he's, listen, we've all struggled. We are literally in panic mode and we don't know what to do. So you're the youngest. Why don't you go talk to them? And I said, what happened? I'm a bit surprised. I'm like, these are kids. Like, why are you guys sweating? Everybody's,
Yeah.
in a weird shape. And they're like, these kids don't interact. So I said, okay, that's strange. I said, okay, no issues. I speak to a lot of people. I'll go talk to them. These are kids. These are our kids.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong? So I walk into the room. Imagine there's 10, 15 kids. And probably one of my most difficult conversations ever, because they would not look up to you. They were all
Oh,
busy
okay.
with their
All
phones.
just
They were
phones.
talking to each other, probably made a WhatsApp group or whatever. So
Yeah.
look at how your communication styles changed within, what, 2 years? So when you
Yeah.
say that ChatGPT is there and people are going to use it, what I fear for is that they're going to become, instead of becoming smarter, we're going to become prompters.
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned less. I guess the problem solving will be reduced as well, most likely.
Yeah,
But it
absolutely.
could help a little bit. But I guess certain people have their mindset correct for using the systems.
I think this is where things will get impacted. And I really hope that people pick this for the right reasons. The right reasons, this is amazing. I'm not sure if you've recently heard, Google's going to leverage technology, look through your eye, and they can start diagnosing things. They can tell a lot about your body without you even being pricked by a needle, which I think
Yeah,
is powerful. It's important. This is the stuff we need. But then you have kids, like you mentioned, who are using ChatGPT to basically do their homework. How is that exactly a good thing? And it's not more so on ChatGPT. The technology is good. This is more
like
so on the
just
kids. So
yeah,
you have to be
exactly.
smart enough to know that having that sort of dependency on these things is not going to help.